Business Matters, presented by the Guamanian Magazine.
Shipping company Matson is celebrating 2 decades of service to Guam, a milestone that President and CEO Matthew Cox is quite proud of.
If we count our 20-year period, we have a weekly call into the region, and so by a rough calculation, we've arrived here in Guam 1,000 times in the last 20 years. Matson grew up servicing Hawaii. We're a 135-year-old company, and for us, we understand the special responsibility of serving island economies.
Matson hosted a reception at the Hilton Guam Resort to thank its customers and also to present donations for students' scholarships to the University of Guam and the Guam Community College. Cox says through the Matson Foundation, the company creates local advisory groups made up of employees who help decide where to direct charitable efforts.
This is part of our culture in serving island economies, and it's not merely to come and go and try to show up reliably on time, but it's also an understanding in the Matson's culture that you have to give back. You're expected as being a participant in an island economy to share. We're all dependent on each other, and for us, part of that is to be able to give back and find ways in which to give back.
And another of the most important partners for shipping companies, of course, are the respective ports of the communities it serves. In Guam, Cox says Matson is pleased with the ongoing facility modernization.
It's been great to see the progress down at the port, and if you haven't been down at the port, in anticipation of the buildup of the military, the port, through multiple sources, has been able to significantly modernize and update the port. And so we've seen significant improvement in the physical infrastructure there. There's an ongoing need for equipment that wears out over its normal time and use. We've seen the port continue to meet its requirements, and I think we feel the port is completely ready to handle the additional volumes when they come.
Like other businesses on Guam, Matson has been preparing for the relocation of thousands of Marines from Okinawa and the increased business it's expected to bring.
Matson itself leased a parcel of land at Polaris Point to be able to accommodate additional volumes when they come. So we will be able to provide a very smooth service to the customers. We continue to be well positioned for the buildup when it occurs and with whatever scope. But the point for us is we've been here long before the buildup, and we'll be here long after. And so for us, we're really looking, I want to say we're looking past it, but we're going to be here a long time.
Cox has been with Matson since 2001 and has been president since 2008. He has more than 30 years' experience in the transportation industry and has oversight of the entire Matson organization, from ocean transportation to logistics and terminal operations. He says it has been a difficult few years for the industry globally. He says analysts point to a downturn in which ocean carriers are expected to rack up some $10 billion in losses.
What's happened is that the individual carriers have individually have significantly ordered these very, very large ultra mega container ships all at the same time, at a time when the economy, especially originally in Europe, but it's spread elsewhere into South America and other places, has not been able to absorb that significant increase in capacity. That's caused a dramatic drop in freight rates as individual carriers have been trying to maintain the share in their own markets.
But Cox says U.S. domestic carriers have fared better, and Matson has remained relatively stable financially.
So for us, we've been much better off. Certainly our year-over-year results are down, but we're continuing to produce healthy profits, and from that we continue to invest both here in Guam and elsewhere. We have 2 brand new container ships on order. We're likely to, in the near term, place an order for another 2 container ships, and to continue to reinvest. We've invested probably close to $50 million of new containers and chassis that have been put into service through our network, including here in Guam and Micronesia.
Last year, Matson acquired former rival Horizon Lines. Cox says they were interested in the carrier's Alaska business, which he says fits well with their business model because the 49th state's remote location is similar to servicing an island.
It's been terrific. It's a great addition to Matson's services. The Alaska economy itself is is not doing as well as they'd like because of the low energy prices, and given that they're an energy producer, they've had somewhat of a suppressed economy. But when we buy these assets, we do it over a 50-year time frame. So we looked past the current difficulties that the Alaska economy is in the middle of now towards really a much more longer-term view, which we do with a lot of our investments.
Cox says the re-entry of American President lines to the Guam market last year came as no surprise. Guam has always been a two-carrier market, Cox says. Part of that is determined by market size, but perhaps a less obvious factor is geographic location.
Many people don't realize that Guam is relatively far outside the main trade lanes, and the facilities here don't accommodate the largest ships, but I don't think a very large ship would routinely serve here just because of the size of the market. So the vessels that we use are well suited for this trade and for the Hawaii trade. So I do think that the natural state is a two-carrier market from the U.S., and I think that provides many of the customers in the community good choice. And of course, many of the customers here also are sourcing product out of different regions in the world and as well. So I think Guam is relatively well served.
For KUAM's Business Matters, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Business Matters, presented by the Guamanian Magazine.